morning, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Have a seat, Ravi.
Thank you.
So, Ravi, as you can see, you are from Jharkhand, Giridih, and you've done your BTech in Mechanical Engineering. You have also taken part in the Maths Olympiad, so obviously a liking for mathematics, and also debates in basketball. Besides that, you have been fond of reading articles on Quora. So, have you been contributing also to Quora or just reading?
So I've been writing some answers in Quora.
All right. And playing acoustic guitar and satellite tracing. So, how do you trace the satellite? Through some app or?
So there are some apps available on the internet. Some are free, of course, some are paid. Through that, we can trace the trajectory of satellites passing by our night sky, and it can take the location of us, and accordingly, the relative location can be traced.
So, which are the satellites you have been tracing in the recent past?
Sir, I have traced International Space Station, Tiangong, which is the space station in progress of China. And I have also traced some of the satellites of Starlink, which is the project of SpaceX.
Okay, when we talk about satellite, what is the escape velocity? Any idea? No?
Sir, the formula is under root gm by r. Exact velocity, I don't remember.
All right, no problem. Now, you have also been working with Tata Motors for almost 2 years.
Or 1 year.
1 year. So, you left it in between?
Yes, in the year 2009.
So, what was the reason?
Sir, I decided I had to commit my full time for UPSC preparation. That is all.
So, you have appeared at the interview earlier also, last year, 2020. And this is the second attempt.
Yes.
Okay. So, tell me, mechanical engineering, there is a principle of physics which is applied, which actually explains why vehicles, when they move at very high speeds, they leave the ground momentarily. What is that?
Sir, actually the air can be treated as fluid, and when the vehicle moves at a very high speed, it faces buoyancy. So the traction between the wheels and the road gets smaller as the speed increases, and the vehicle gets uplifted to the air.
No, what is the principle? It's called after a scientist, which says that if the velocity goes up, the pressure comes down.
Sir, I don't remember the exact.
Have you not heard about Bernoulli's principle? That is on the principle on which aircrafts also work. What is maglev?
Sir, maglev is a vehicle, is a train. Maglev is a train which works on the principle of upliftment from the ground based on the magnetic field which is created in the surrounding area.
So where can you find this maglev trains?
Sir, small models are generally being worked out because the main energy loss in the case of trains are due to the friction. So this maglev technology.
So what is the speed at which maglev moves?
Sir, higher than the high-speed rail and the bullet trains which are currently running. So the current speed for bullet trains is around 500 kilometers per hour. Upper than that, maglev can reach.
Is there any possibility, any research being done for the trains to move at the speed of sound?
Pardon me, sir?
The train moving at the speed of sound. Is there any technology which is coming up?
Sir, not exactly with the speed of sound. Using the technology of maglev, hyperloop is coming right now, which is smaller than the speed of sound. Yes, but yeah, significant improvement upon the current conventional rails.
Okay, let's divert it. The current situation of law and order in many states is worsening on account of many reasons. Do you think there is a justification now that the law and order, even though it is a state subject, it should be taken over by the center, so that the center has full control over maintenance and thereby responsibility also?
Sir, I think there is a justification for law and order being in the state subject because the state government knows better the ground realities of that particular areas, and the manpower which is recruited from those areas are well versed with the local traditions and customs. I do not think that center should usurp the power of the states. I think they can work in coordination. So the present condition in which the intelligence mostly and the high-powered committees which are provided by the union can aid and aid and advance the works of the state government to control them better.
Some of the high courts of this country have expressed displeasure, and probably they do not have the faith in the local police, and they have requested for guarding the high court premises by CAPF. Is it the right trend, correct trend?
Sir, respected CJI was day before yesterday also mentioning about the worsening conditions or the attacks on the judges of High Court as well as some local courts. So I think yes, security as promised by the executive, security should be provided because the work which has been carried out by judges involve some kind of risk.
What is going to be the ripple effect? One high court asking for it, and then the ripple effect would be everywhere. So the credibility of the state police will in any case be going down. So coupling it with the previous question which I was asking you, that do you think now more and more institutions are demanding central forces rather than the state forces? Thank you, Ashok.
Maybe in the context of Russia-Ukraine war, India has received more than usual attention. You must be knowing about it. Several of the dignitaries have come to India or have called on the Prime Minister or other ministers of the country. Now, how should India go about it to cash on this attention and become a world leader?
Sir, I think with the current geopolitical situation which is covering India, there is a paradigm shift in the approach of India, where India asserts its strategic autonomy, not to be bullied by the Western pressures to condemn Russia or take a clear stance on it, whether it supports the West or the Russia. So this is really a good situation for India to assert its present, as is seen by the recent visits by Prime Minister to Europe. He is also gaining confidence, listening to the problems and the pressures given by the Western countries and the need to cooperate with different stakeholders like France and Germany, who have different set of problems as well as convergence with some of the issues, such as Germany is more and more dependent on gas imports from Russia. India is also dependent on military imports from Russia. So there seems to be some kind of convergence in them. Same is the case with France. We are more and
But
more.
now Germany is saying that we will abide by other European countries and stop purchasing any energy from Russia. Will this not put pressure on India also to stop buying anything from Russia? Particularly when Prime Minister has now recently visited Germany.
So the pressures will be there. The German commitment has to come in the pretext of NATO alliance. They have a commitment to that organization where they are aligned to a particular organized group of countries. But that is not the case with India. Russia has been a traditional and strategic partner of India and has supported India in the UNSC deliberations. So in that context as well, we have to balance the long-term partnership with the newer relations such as US and engagement with European Union.
Okay. Now, the pandemic COVID-19 just happened 2 years before. Still, it is continuing. What are the lessons for public health management that we can draw from whatever are the experiences during this COVID-19?
So the first lesson was to strengthen the primary healthcare centers. When the pandemic struck, our condition as the first nodal point of contact was not present in many of the cases. People started rushing to specialty hospitals or the district hospitals at first. Then we realized that for managing public health, it is important to reach the nook and corners of the country first. One is that. So apart from that, given the advanced nature of viruses and pathogens which are developing worldwide, there is a need to establish labs, advanced labs, at least in each district, to diagnose them, to trace and treat them in due time by the public officials.
To diagnose what? The viruses or
the disease which is being spread in them. And apart from that, a dedicated workforce for this for management of medical emergencies should be developed in the form of some dedicated cadre of medical people which can handle these medical emergencies better than administrative people. So for that, the Prime
Would
Minister,
you call pandemic a medical emergency rather?
sir, at the peak of it, it is medical emergency for people.
Okay.
You have a good technical background, you have good degree also. Why you want to come to civil services?
Sir, the pursuit of civil services or my interest in the area developed while getting involved with one of the NGOs which I have mentioned in my DAF as well. And apart from that, sir, during my job also, I have been working on.
What is NGO doing?
Sir, this NGO, which is currently working in Jharkhand, Hazaribagh, has been implementing projects and campaigns of government in the field of watershed development and COVID management as well.
Most of the NGOs, they are unhappy with the government machinery in these states. But how you can be so happy or your NGO can be so happy? They will never release your grant in time. They will do inspection and they will ask for so many things. And still you feel actually you are motivated. What were the reasons?
So the financial aspect is one of the positions. Yes, the financial flows have become stringent post the FEMA amendment, and
even before that also.
the funds are flowing. I was particularly interested in the groundwork which is being carried out by those NGOs. Yes, there are some delays in the implementation of funds, but work continues because the problems arise at times and people have to manage them. So this particular NGO has been working with the ground people rather than on.
So how you got motivated while working in NGO? If NGO is doing such a great thing, you should have continued there.
Sir, I plan to continue there. I also visited that NGO to work there to gain some experience to work at the ground level during COVID pandemic as well. But the people there also also inspired me to work directly for the people, to touch the lives of
But
people.
that is directly. I mean, you see, the NGO who are working at grassroots level, that is direct work. Tell us some convincing reason for joining the civil service.
Sir, I would say that this job in particular provides a sure short way to serve people in diverse areas. Challenges were one of the things which I loved during my career. I pursued many different things. NGO was one of them, and as I grew up, I got to know that this field of area, this work of area, has the potential to provide me challenges and work in diversity.
What challenges you foresee in this service?
Sir, I see many kind of challenges. As as far as civil services go, the introduction of technology, the interface between people and the administration to be simplified in the future. And apart from that, sir, the field work which the civil servants do during their initial years and even after that I think has a lot to do with the challenges which they present.
What is the concept of welfare state?
So the welfare state is the one which looks after the people of its country.
Every state will look after its people.
So the idea derives from the socialist principles, which are more and more getting percolated to every.
When we can say that yes, this is welfare state, or this is not welfare state.
Sir,
Is Pakistan welfare state?
Sir, Pakistan is a welfare state.
India?
What?
And India?
India is a welfare state.
But how?
Sir, I believe for welfare of the people, it has to dedicate a particular amount of money and guarantee fundamental rights of the citizen for their welfare. So the schemes like the National Food Security Act, or the schemes like or the acts like Right to Information, or empowerment by criminal justice system, these all indicate that India is a welfare state.
How we empower actually under the criminal justice system? How we empower?
Sir, under criminal justice system, every person has the right to go to the doors of the court to get justice and get justice within a time-bound manner. Even after we have seen the case of Nirbhaya.
Working well in India? If this system is working well in India?
Sir, there have been delays, as CGI has quoted few days ago, that yes, there are 4.
Delay means for how many years? Delay, backlogs.
Sir, it can take more than 30 years. There are 4 crore plus pending cases in all the courts in the country.
It is a good system or it is a satisfactory system?
Given the humongous nature of our country and
It is acceptable.
Sir, it should come down. It is not acceptable. It is said that justice delayed is justice denied, and I also agree with that. It should be cleared. The manforce.
How many years are okay with you? That if it is delayed by these many years, it is okay.
So the ideal.
What is the tolerance limit?
So the ideal system should not get any delays in the delivery.
Yeah, that is true. But I mean, how many years you can accept?
Sir, I think whenever a particular case remains relevant for in the life of a person, we see that 30-40 years, even the person dies and the criminal justice or trial goes on. It is unacceptable. Maybe 5 to 10 years can be justified.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent.
Jharkhand. How is the crime situation in Jharkhand with particular regard to cyber crimes in Jamtara and left-wing extremism?
So as the current scenario goes, the left-wing extremism in Jharkhand has come down from being in 19 districts to 16 districts as per Ministry of Home Affairs. So due to sanitation drives of the CRPF and recruitment of local specialized forces such as Jharkhand Jaguars, the left-wing extremism has come down. Regarding cyber crime, sir, yes, Jamtara can be called as the cyber crime hub of India, because even small children there are involved in the phishing activities and carrying out petty cyber crimes. The specialized cyber cell has been deployed there and is working in consonance with the local police to bring it down.
Quite some time back, there was a parliamentary committee of 44 members which recommended that the engineers and medical doctors must be banned from appearing in civil service examinations. What is your view on this? Should they be banned?
Sir, it also involves my personal case of interest, and I don't think that they should ban, because that will deprive civil services of good quality candidates who can bring some kind of expertise into the services. So the generalist versus the specialist debate gets more intensified here, and by banning a particular type of a student on the basis of their qualification would not be right, and would be injustice to those students.
Recently, there was a air flight turbulence in SpiceJet. What are the causes of these turbulences in the mid-air?
Yes, sir. Recently, the SpiceJet traveling from Mumbai to Durgapur experienced turbulence while in the air. So it is a common phenomenon happening due to what's said the Bernoulli principle. When the air gets disbalanced on the both sides of the wings or the backward cockpit area, the airplane experiences turbulence, and there can be various causes of it. The air coming down from the mountain areas also disbalances the plane, and also while taking uplift or while touching down, the air gets disbalanced, and also due to harsh wind conditions or harsh.
So these conditions cannot be forecast?
So these can be forecast. Most of the turbulence which happen in normal planes are under control. Those are minor issues, and the planes are modified in that way to tackle those problems. But inadvertent conditions sometimes happens.
Government is pressing all of us to go in for vaccination of COVID. Can we refuse vaccination?
Yes, sir. As per the government stance, yes, sir. The right to privacy also covers the right to body of a person. So a person can naturally refuse to get vaccinated, but it would not be in the interest of public health, I would say.
Last questions. There has been a continuous increase in the incidence of rapes in our country. Should we legalize prostitution?
Sir, I think banning something takes it underground. So while in a regulatory environment, in a very regulated business environment, since many other things are also legal, like betting, online betting are also legal. I think that prostitution, if regulated in a larger environment with a dedicated body to regulate those, would also bring down the cases of HIVs and deadly diseases which are prevalent in those workers. So in the long term, as Western countries have also done, prostitution can be legalized, but for that, criminal justice system and the police law and order system has to be very strong first.
Ravi, Jharkhand. Given the current coal shortage in the country, what measures can be taken? Adoption of renewables, import of coal. What is a sustainable method for India?
Ma'am, as India has been blessed with abundance of coal mineral reserves in our country, India is the third. Ma'am, we have a very large reserves in Jharkhand and Odisha. We are the third largest producer and also one of the largest coal reserves currently untapped. But due to climate commitments, the production is going to be controlled in the near future. So, which is the case. Currently, the installed capacity is around more than 55% is based on thermal power plant, but actual electricity generation is around 80% based on thermal power plants running on coal and gases. The reasons, ma'am, number one is the low efficiency and production by Coal India Limited, because it remains the majority producer of coal in the country. The production has come down.
But our methods of extracting it or mining it remain the same, or they have improved over time? What is more efficient, transporting by trucks or by train?
Transporting by train is always going to be more efficient because there will be a dedicated line for it. Given the disturbance by passenger vehicles, passenger trains, which is more important commitment of Government of India, comes down. So dedicated freight corridor can help in that direction very well. And since many of the passenger trains recently have also been cancelled for the transportation of coal, it says a lot about our operating ratio of railways, which is close to around 98%. So yes, when a dedicated freight corridor for carrying of those cargoes is built, the transportation efficiency will always go up in near future.
So they say that for the last 2 days, the conditions have improved. So are we always dependent on nature? We haven't progressed, we haven't moved ahead. That is why the demand for electricity and hence for coal has kind of stabilized.
Ma'am, production has been in shortage for a long time, but this year was a particular case due to the consistent heat waves which is going around north of India. So the peak power consumption demand.
Normally, what would be the stock piled up, so that this kind of a situation of deficiency doesn't arise? How many days of stockpile?
At least 30 days of stockpile should be there so that in case of contingencies, the disruption does not take place.
My second question is, Reporters Without Borders released the report for 2022 yesterday regarding 180 countries. India stands at a dismal 150. What could be the reasons? Though we are a democracy, we are a free press. We are touted as a free press.
It has gone down.
Yes, from 142, it has come down to 150.
Ma'am, the quality of mainstream journalism in India, which is through television, has seen many changes. The narrative in the program, which is carried out in the mainstream private medias, are being run by many a times advertisement companies. In the West, they have started moving towards a subscription model where the corporate.
I'm not talking of this. I'm talking of a very different issue, world press freedom, which is brought out by Reporters Without Borders. They screen the working of the media in about 180 countries, and this is the main measure is violence against journalism. So subscription and all that doesn't matter. It's violence against journalists. Is it a matter of concern for us? Why, despite the fact that we say we are free, and it used to be said, pen is mightier than the sword once upon a time.
Ma'am, that is true to some extent. In the light of the recent events where one of the journalists in Uttar Pradesh covering one of the incidents of rape cases was jailed for a very long time without being trial. So without being provided trial. So in some of the cases, it has happened in India that the stringent laws like UAPA in the case of Assam or the sedition law has been put on those journalists, and they have been put behind bars without providing trial. Also, there were some cases of violence like shooting dead of some of the journalists in India. Though those few incidences are being reflected in those indices which are being published by.
You say few. The indicator doesn't say few. Only day before yesterday, there were 2 deaths in Delhi of journalists. Okay, we'll go to my last question. When is a flag hoisted and when is a flag unfurled?
Can you elaborate a bit?
What does hoist mean?
To put a flag in the air is mean to be hoisted.
When you unfurl also, it's in the air only. So what is the difference between unfurling and hoisting?
Ma'am, can I take a guess? Ma'am, in some of the national events or the holidays, flags are generally hoisted, and unfurling can be done by anybody at any time. It is right.
No, please read on this. Hoist is when you hoist it upwards. Unfurl is horizontally you unfurl it. Okay, so just look into this. Thank you.
Okay, Ravi, so we'll take you back to the waiting room for a while and we'll call you back for your feedback. Okay, and just stay there, we'll call you.
Thanks.
So Ravi, when is your interview fixed?
Sir, 18th of May.
18th of May.
This is the first time we'll be appearing at CSE interview?
The second time.
Second time. How many marks did you get the last time?
180.
180. Good marks. Yeah. How have you done your mains this year?
Better than last year, sir. Last year I got very good marks in my GS subject and even in interview good marks, but my optional was very poor. I got only 186 marks.
Okay.
So this time I prepared well. So I am hopeful this time.
Your optional was the same?
Yeah, sir, mathematics.
Mathematics.
I'm going to put all that. Last year there was a delay due to pandemic, right? So my
correct.
preparation got affected.
Okay, Ravi.
So tell us, how do you think you fared at this mock interview lasting for about 20-25 minutes?
Sir, comparing this interview with my last interview here only, I was not very confident.
You came last year also for the mock interview.
So I was not very confident. I do not know why. I am generally very confident. I was stuttering a bit while giving my answers. Sir, also I'll have to read more about the current system social issues in which there can be controversial kind of things like ma'am said about the press freedom index, or sir asked about the criminal justice system. I think I can fare well.
And also
there.
welfare state.
Yeah. So also sir Bernoulli principle and the mechanical engineering things which I already know, but I could not recall at that time. In the start, I got a bit upset. So I can tackle those well, I believe. So I'll have to prepare well next time.
Okay, so let me say that you are very good. There is no doubt about it. And since you still have got about 15 days at your disposal, 14, 15 days, 2 weeks are quite good enough for you to rise it to the outstanding category. This time we definitely would like you to get 200 marks also, 200 plus. Now coming to the areas, I do not have to tell you the specific areas. You are aware about your DAF, but even then, at the cost of repetition, I will talk about that about Jharkhand. What advantage Jharkhand has gained after the bifurcation of the state? Okay. Second is, what are the facts and figures, the statistics about Jharkhand? So the agricultural area, the crops, the cropping pattern, the irrigation, the power situation, the social problems, the law and order situation, the tourist spots, ancient heritage, history, everything about Jharkhand you should know. Okay. Any new industries which are coming up, the mines and the minerals, everything about that. And similarly about the district to which you belong, Giridih, I would strongly recommend that you catch hold of the district gazetteer of Giridih and understand which are the important sites there and what are the different facts and figures about Giridih district. So learn everything about Jharkhand and Giridih. Not many questions. And then of course mechanical engineering, so many questions can come. The situation as it is going to develop in respect of the car industry 20 years from now, the hydrogen driven cars, the electric cars, the explosion of the batteries, and then the thermodynamics, first law, second law, and then why vehicles, what speed can they move, and the maglev and everything about some of the vehicles, the hyperloop and all those things. So you must understand about mechanical engineering very well. And the principles involved there. So Bernoulli's principle was one, but then the law of thermodynamics is another. Centrifugal forces, even elementary things sometimes they are asked, and one is not able to answer those things. So understand the obvious things. The obscure things you will be able to take care of in any way. Then mathematics you have to learn, go deep into that. So what is Pythagoras theorem? What is the different theorems? Essential principles of mathematics. Why there are 360 degrees in a circle? Okay, and things. How do you measure the height of a mountain if you are standing at a distance? Such questions are asked always. And then what are natural numbers? What are imaginary numbers? And what is infinity? What is 1/0? And what is the contribution of India in so far as mathematics is concerned? So Aryabhat, astronomy, everything connected to that. Differential calculus, hydrostatics, statics, okay. Even sometimes questions are asked, what do you mean by algebra? What do you mean by trigonometry? So understand those basic concepts also. Okay. Then coming to your hobbies. So Quora, you have explained, and they may ask you what is that last contribution you have made to Quora, and so on. Then acoustic guitar and satellite tracing. They are the definitely areas. I asked you about escape velocity because you referred to satellite. What is weightlessness? What is the length and breadth of the space station which has been put up? Okay. Then they can go into the space thing also. What are the 8 sectors which have been opened up by the government of India or private sector? One of them is space also. So such kind of questions may definitely come. And then Elon Musk and since he's dealing with the driverless vehicles and so on. And then since Elon Musk name may come, the Twitter may come, the social media may come, the Facebook may come, all those things. Then current affairs. Current affairs you have to study extremely well. Read the newspaper even on that particular day before you enter the examination. Then you have been in Tata, so why Tatas are famous? The ethical, the Tatas are known for their ethical principles and so on. What are the values and ethics which are required in a civil servant? Okay, and then the question, which is the a very important question: why civil service? So the argument you have to give very cogent arguments for why you want to come to the civil service, having done your mechanical engineering. Okay, so that you should advance at least 4 or 5 reasons and important reasons. Well, there can be many reasons, and every panelist may have its own views about it, why civil service. But some of the ideas which you can think about it, that civil service gives you an opportunity to be a part of the public policy making process, policy formulation, implementation, and evaluation. And it also gives you a large canvas to work with, particularly Indian Administrative Service, where you get to see many departments during 35 years. You also become a part in the governance of this country, and you touch upon the lives of the citizens of this country in a citizen-centric administration. It also helps you in being creative and innovative because you are full of ideas, and then it gives you an opportunity to occupy very responsible positions at a very young age, not available in any other service, not even engineering. You do not become a chief CMD of a corporation before the age of 45, 50. Here you can become at a very young age and so on. So great responsible positions. And lastly, a lot of satisfaction and solace. Okay. So these are some of the reasons. There can be many other reasons also. And then of course I asked you many questions about law and order, the police, you were able to come out with more or less the answers rightly. And then the pandemic 2019, what are the lessons? So this, of course, is a burning question, because pandemic 2000, the COVID-19 is not the end of everything. You have so many variants to that, and so many new pandemics which may come. So you must understand that we have to establish the infrastructure of health and education. And as Amar Sen said that the amount of outlay that you have to earmark for education and health should be much higher, rather than so much of defense study. And then Russia-Ukraine war, the challenges, particularly in respect of the supply chain disruption. So you must know that what is Atmanirbhar Bharat, what are the schemes, so BLI scheme, startup and stand-up. And you say that this is a step in that particular direction to become self-reliant. And then about NGOs, so you said that I want to come to civil services because I am working with an NGO. That may not be the only reason. You can put it at the last. And while giving your answers, always remember the broad principle that whenever you give answers, you must speak out the most important part of the answer first. So NGO may come in the last, but the most important reason for you to enter civil service, or for that matter, any question. Second is always back it up with examples. So giving examples will always be much more able to support your answers. And third is, if there is a tricky question or a question where it can go either way. So it can be about homosexuality, it can be Article 370, it can be demonetization, it can be Central Vista, it can be CAA, it can be demonetized. So many things will be there where it can go either way, reservation and corruption. Always give both the sides. Never stick on one side, because you are expected to be a rational. Okay, and if they insist on asking your opinion, then follow the official line. So never go against the official line. So that's about it. And then of course the crime situation in Jharkhand. So Jharkhand, you have to know everything about Jharkhand, and the concept of welfare state within India again a question. So then associated to that will be the freebies being distributed. In terms of power, in terms of food grains, in terms of bicycles, and in terms of farmer subsidy, is it the right thing to do? So such questions will be asked. Okay. And then, of course, the coal shortages, the power shortages, what were the reasons? You said that the heat wave has come 15 days in advance, but there are other reasons also. Why the stocks were not maintained? There are many reasons for that. And then then of course the journalists, attack on the journalists. So that of course depends. Then the Prime Minister's visit recently to the various nations. And then before I end up, I will just say just three things you have to understand. One is, read the Constitution very carefully, article by article, so that have a good understanding of the fundamental rights, fundamental duties, and also the right principle, the preamble, and also the duties and functions of President, Vice President, Prime Minister. Everything you read. Read what is the job of district administration, how district administration works in Jharkhand, what is the role of collector, revenue administration, and other functions like law and order, and disaster management, and also overlooking the public policies, and also the election work. So that again is the area which you should do. And lastly, but not the least, the public policies and the laws which have been framed by Government of India and state also, in respect to tribals, in respect to scheduled caste, women, children, and senior citizens. That's about it. So if you have this overall well-rounded knowledge about things, you'll be able to field any question whatsoever. Do you have anything? Okay.
I would like to
Yeah,
share
sure,
one
please.
point for that.
Yeah.
You see, there are certain things which are non-negotiable. Whether it is corruption, delay in actually, you see, discharging its duty, whether it is court or administration. So never negotiate. I was pushing you to come to some years, and you were ready to negotiate at 10 years. So never negotiate actually. Delay is not acceptable.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is just taking a cue from David Saab, what I said. The question will be asked, for example, if the minister asks you to do something which is not legal, and he gives order in writing, will you obey it? Will you pass orders, comply it or not? So it's non-negotiable. You will not, because the basic principles of civil service It is the protection which has been provided is primarily for this reason, so that you do not bend down and against the under the orders of a superior who may be giving unlawful orders. So you are rational, have to be rational, you have to be ethical, you have to be secular.
Sir, in some of the questions, there can be practical considerations of it. I mean, case cannot be practically discharged in say 2-3 months because there will be a lot of cases pending. So in that case, also I'll be taking the ideal scenario to justify this.
About cases in the courts, you are
Sir,
mentioning.
for example, there can be multiple things that, say, for example, the number of police personnel in particular district should it be increased to such a level that more than the number of police personnel per population increases. So I have to take side, but I cannot make it take it up to an ideal situation where the personnel is so high that the law enforcement is perfect. So what can be done in that state?
So you have to say that it will depend. Number one, of course, the resources available. Then from state to state. You see, depending upon the crime situation in the state, you can't have a uniform single law. There are norms, international norms are there, United Nations norms are there regarding number of policemen per person. But it is not possible. That's the ideal situation. But depending upon the finances, the wherewithal, the crime situation, every state will differ. So you can't have one rule for everything. And exceptions prove the rule. That is the fundamental rule. Exceptions always prove the rule. Okay. So you will do very well. Just go back and little study on the areas. Your communication skills are very good. Your attitude is absolutely fine. Your mental alertness, your way of examining the issues, the balancing the issues, your confidence levels are absolutely good. Your eye contact is fine. There is nothing against you in any way in terms of skills. And you have already got good the percentage of mark this time. I would definitely like to see you getting around 200 or so, which you are capable of. The kind of answers you have given are pretty. All the best to you. I hope you don't have any other questions to ask.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All the best.
Unacademy. Let's crack it.